At this time of dislocation in the media business, a lot of parents are worrying, what kind of job is my student going to get? Career services, more and more important in every place in higher education and really important here at the journalism school. And I think there is no better tribute to our commitment to our students' future than the fact that our next awardee, a 99 grad, chose to have the person who heads up our career services section of the school give him his award. That says something about that role in his life. So Jay Eubank, Director of Career Services, would you come and give our last award for the night?
I have one of the best jobs in the School of Journalism and Mass Communication. I get to work with students to help them land internships, craft their first resume, and hopefully get a first job. It's a job that's rewarding and challenging, and oftentimes you never quite know how the story is going to end. With that in mind, let me tell you a true story about my job and the type of students the School of Journalism and Mass Communication produces. And it's a story that produces an outstanding alum, one who has the ear of one of the most powerful politicians in the world, Speaker of the U.S. House, John Boehner. The J School participates in the Washington Center for Politics and Journalism program, which provides a select group of students with the opportunity to work full-time at a Washington, D.C. newspaper or news organization. It's a great program. It's been around since 1988 and has helped launch the careers of many in journalism and politics and public relations since its inception. At the time, the J School could nominate one student per semester. So that fell to me to kind of orchestrate that process. In 1999, we had already decided on our nominee when a student came by to see me about being nominated. He had done well in an internship at the Herald-Sun in Durham and had high marks from his editors there, and was eager to gain experience in Washington, D.C. Thus, a dilemma. We already had our nominee, who I had to go back and double check, but is Holly Tusi, who is now one of the top Middle Eastern correspondents for the Associated Press, equally a very talented journalist. But a hard part of being a career counselor in the J School is to tell a talented student no, and one that I try to avoid at all costs. So I decided we would try to bend the rules a bit. I decided to roll the dice and submit two nominees, Holly Tusi and Michael Steele. The worst that likely could happen, I thought, would be that for one of them to be turned down. So in September 1999, after graduating from UNC, Michael Steele began a fast-rising career as a journalist and communications pro in Washington, D.C. Michael excelled as a Washington bureau intern for the Detroit News. Similarly, Holly ended up doing a great job for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. It turns out it really wasn't a roll of the dice, and I'm not surprised whatsoever that it's turned out the way it's turned out. After the internship with the Detroit News, Michael joined the National Review online and then the National Journal as a reporter. But like so many, Michael saw the opportunity on the Hill, not Chapel Hill, Capitol Hill. He became a press secretary, first in 2003 for U.S. Representative John Shadegg of Arizona, and then for U.S. Representative Jim McCreary of Louisiana. Next, he was communications director for the House Ways and Means Committee. He worked in Governor Mitt Romney's 2008 primary campaign before joining John Boehner's office in February 2008. Timing is everything, and Michael has played a key role in one of the main initiatives that's led to the Republicans taking over the House of Representatives in 2010 midterm elections. He was an integral part in shaping the GOP's Pledge to America. He has stayed close to Boehner, and as any good press secretary does, he knows his boss and how to pitch the speaker's agenda. On a day-to-day basis, Michael helped shape the House GOP message, serving as a key point person for both the Capitol Hill and National Press Corps. He's recognized throughout Washington, D.C. for that work. The National Journal included Michael Steele as one of its 35 and under power set for being one of Washington's next generation power players. The influential online site BuzzFeed went as far as to say he is one of the people running Washington. His ability to take tough questions and stand in the line of fire, so to speak, was recognized by Mitt Romney's 2012 campaign. Michael took a leave of absence from Speaker Boehner's office to become Vice Presidential nominee Paul Ryan's traveling press secretary. Michael would tell you it was an interesting experience, one that in today's hyperspeed media world means that you have to be firm, fair, and sometimes not so well liked by the press. But every successful press secretary knows that he or she will take some arrows along the way. But Michael survived and is still one of the Hill's most influential communicators. Along the way, Michael made sure, I'm sure he will tell you, one of his best communications efforts in marrying Mary Catherine, who is a vice president with FTI Consulting. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to turn it over to a most deserving Next Generation Leadership Award winner, Michael Steele.
One of our favorite graduates and a member of this Hall of Fame once asked, "What is it that binds us to this place as to no other?" As the Chancellor and Mr. Baer touched on, I think the answer lies in our state and the character of our people. Will Blythe and others have written that what separates us from the school up the road is our rootedness in a particular place, the state of North Carolina. For years, my father has told me that the three most admired men in our state are Billy Graham, Andy Griffith, and Dean Smith. He always said it showed North Carolinians have a sense of priorities: God, humor, and basketball. But something else binds those three great men: decency. It is the defining virtue of our state, this veil of humility between two mountains of conceit. A state where the governor and the auto mechanic both wear khakis to church and share a devotion to soft-spokenness and hard work. And so, because this is, as it was meant to be, a university of the people, we all take that North Carolina decency wherever we go. Having worked for the past dozen or so years in Washington in politics and journalism, I have to say that decency is what is too often lacking in our public debates. Each partisan can cite chapter and verse of how the other side started it. Each journalist can tell you about the relentless pressure to tweet, to live blog, to go chatter on cable just because the other guys are. There's always an excuse to embrace a new low. And for too many people have come to believe that decency itself is a roadblock to success in a dog-eat-dog bottom-line world. But we know that's not true. Here on this campus, we have all watched our Tar Heels perform at the highest level for decades with a winning combination of grit and grace. And that's the lesson we take from Carolina. Decency is not a sign of weakness. It is the heart of true greatness. In closing, I'd like to thank the people who taught me those lessons. Jay Eubank, who bent the rules to send an indifferent student with a passion for politics to Washington, D.C. Professors like Jim Shoemaker and Chuck Stone. Other folks who are here tonight, Chris Heaney and Raj Premakumar, both lifelong friends and Carolina men. My father, Charles Steele, and his wife, Molly. Particularly my mother, June, a UNC employee for 25 years, who earned an MBA at Keenan Flagler at nights and weekends. And of course, my wife, Mary Catherine. Her parents drove here from Mississippi to be here tonight. She's not a fan of any sport whatsoever. And she recently suffered through her first game at the Dean Dome because it made me very happy. Thank you all for this honor. I will endeavor to be worthy of it and of the example set by the extraordinary group of inductees this evening. Thank you and good night.